Hey beautiful human, it's RidersDX. Before we start today's video, I want to make something extremely clear. You are beautiful in more ways than one. It's a waste of time to wish you had cheekier cheekbones, a bigger bottom, or the abs of a xylophone. Just know in my heart, and one day yours, you were born the way you were meant to be. Unless your diet and exercise is like actually killing you or something, then that's like a completely different story. But anyway, now that we've established that things are great the way they were intended, sometimes it's nice to imagine what it'd be like to have a do-over. Maybe I wouldn't have accidentally walked into a girl's bathroom while I was in 4th grade. Maybe I wouldn't have poured pounds of saturated fats into my stomach while binging Hannah Montana last night. Or maybe I'd force Sega to make some of the games a little bit differently. Remakes are a popular discussion topic on the internet. What would it be like to see some of the most iconic video games get redone in a more polished light, or maybe even reimagined into something brand new? Well, some fans are absolute magicians and have taken that thought into action, and thus we have some pretty insane fan projects out there that do exactly that. So I present to you 8 crazy fan projects that take on some of the most iconic Sonic games out there. So prepare to die and be born again because, yeah, fans are crazy. Sonic 06 Definitive Edition may look like Sonic 06, but it's actually a really in-depth mod of Sonic Generations. Headed by Brand New Sonic, the project features original models, animations, and physics from Sonic 06. This is a proof of concept mod that creates new movesets to Sonic Generations by bringing back character movesets from the original game. It's extremely ambitious and honestly just impressive to look at. They currently have 4 levels done: Wave Ocean, Kingdom Valley, Crisis City, and Tropical Jungle. All 4 levels are beautifully remade with physics that feel close to 06, but also possess the speed and adrenaline feel of Generations, and it's honestly a blast to play through. I would just say sometimes the game feels a little too fast for me due to the level design of 06 and how it contrasts tons of Generations physics. I feel the physics just need to match 06 a little more to attain the perfect balance, but this is still tons more fun than 06 itself, so it is an improvement. The boost is still here, though heavily toned down, and I gotta say, if you know the right places to utilize it, it adds a pretty fun mechanic to the game. The mod even incorporates some of its own original ideas, such as this water section in Kingdom Valley where you have to avoid the bonds and continually propel yourself forward, and it completely revamped Silver Section Tropical Jungle, and it creates all these different 2D hazardous areas that really gave Dave a run for his money. And the transitions between sections, man, it's just a complete treat to witness. It's so cool to see all these parts of the level just tied together the way that it probably was intended to. One awesome thing this mod does that I was totally not expecting was that it also incorporates the hub worlds of 06 with complete 3D movement. I mean, this is pretty crazy that I'm playing through an area like this in Generations. Like, where has modding come to? It's crazy. I will say my laptop is not a powerhouse, so it was not the smoothest experience playing through it, especially through solely on a Casto. For some reason that one was pretty laggy in particular, and I had Dave play and record this footage and he kind of recognized the same thing, so it might just not be optimized enough, but it nonetheless is a pretty awesome treat to throw in here, and it's also so much more fun to traverse through here compared to 06 considering the speed you can reach. I mean, you can boost through the jungle. I mean, that's something I really wish we had in 06, you know, at least a really good version of it. Small note, however, the game does a great job at recreating the feel of Mach Speed sections, just a bit too good of a job. Don't get me wrong, it's better than 06, but can we make it a little less painful? Otherwise, this mod is a total blast, and I can't wait to see other levels get incorporated into this.
Okay. The whole city's on fire. No problem.
Sonic Advance Revamped is a remake and reimagining of the original Sonic Advance on the GBA using the Sonic Worlds Delta engine. Directed by Alexander Brunetto, it's designed to be the definitive way to play Sonic Advance with a 16:9 aspect ratio, patched up levels and bosses, completely redesigned special stages, smoothest sprites from each GBA Sonic title, re-implemented unused/beta elements, and true classic Sonic controls. Features set for the future include an exclusive Team Chaotix mission mode, 8 unique playable characters, a fleshed out Tiny Chow Garden new level, levels, music tracks, and so much more. This all sounds extremely promising, but for the time being, the latest demo contains both Neo Green Zone levels and the first casino level with 7 playable characters. I'll be honest, I like Sonic Advance, but I was never a mega fan of it, so this wasn't a project I was as hyped about playing. But I gotta say, for what it sets out to do, it's off to a really great start. The levels are perfectly remade and the physics feel, dare I say it, a little better than they did in the original. Maybe I need to go back to the original just to be sure, but this version feels like the momentum is more apparent and it just feels easier to build up speed here. I also like the aspect ratio and how clear everything looks here. But by far my favorite addition here is the new characters, as they all add something very interesting in terms of mechanics. Well, maybe not Cream, but she's still pretty fun to play and I do find it fun messing around the cheese attack as the child just goes bonkers on every enemy and item close by. Shadow is a brand new addition. He has a homing attack and melee abilities taken directly from battle. While the melee attacks are kinda useless, the homing attack is really fun to play here, as you try to chain them together to get the best times. But by far my favorite here is Blaze, as her boost is brought over here from Rush and it just made me realize how much I actually missed that formula. It's a complete blast playing her and just slaughtering enemies. She definitely makes the game super easy, but it's all in good fun. Overall, this is a pretty solid project and I hope it gets some major updates soon, as I don't think we've seen that much for a while. I'm really hoping it's still kicking and going. Sonic Rush 3D is an unofficial fan reimagining of Sonic Rush, but in well, 3D. Headed by project directors Chicken Wing, Johnny, Ender Electrics, and Temsy, the game takes all the models and style of the Rush games and transforms it into a fully 3D adventure reminiscent of the Boost formula. I just have to say, I'm in love with the art style of this game. Opening it up and watching that cutscene took me straight back to when I played Rush Adventure for the first time and saw Tails and Sonic on a tornado. The game's 3D DS style is just so charming and unique, and it makes me wish we got to see more games in this style when they were doing it. It definitely tugs on the nostalgic heart, which is very much swelling up right now. The game has one level so far, but it's honestly a pretty massive one. It's this weird mix between Apotos and Water Palace, and I gotta say, these are two very compatible levels to combine. You really get to see the progression from the grassy fields to the palace itself, and it's a blast to run through. As for the gameplay itself, it's pretty good and it has a lot of potential. They're essentially making a boost game here, which is a tall order to take on. I will say the 3D control can feel a little slippery at times, but I actually feel like they designed the level well enough to accommodate for it. The more open nature of the level meshes well with the game's feel. I would like to see more refined 3D movement here, but to be honest, it's something Sonic Team still struggles with, so if they can continue to craft the level design around it, the result will still be pretty good. But man, I had so much fun boosting through the level, performing tricks, and just really honing in on that Russian 3D experience. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this progresses. I hope we get to see Blaze put in here too, as I think she'd be a killer addition for moveset. I also think it'd be cool to see more level fusions like Apotos and Water Palace, maybe Mirage Road and Pyramid Cave, or Night Carnival and Casinopolis. The ideas and possibilities are just endless.
Yes!
So what if Sonic Triple Trouble had been originally released on a Sega Genesis / Mega Drive after Sonic 3 and Knuckles? Directed by Noah N. Copeland, this is a fan game reimagining of Sonic Triple Trouble in the style of the Genesis Sonic classics. The game adheres to the aesthetic and technical limitations of Sega's legendary 16-bit hardware, and is made to look and sound as if it came out of the mid/late 90s. Basically, you might say it aims to be an actual Sonic 4. The game is slated to include new level layout additions, boss fights against Knuckles, and even bonus stages. It not only uses the sprites from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but everything from the menu presentation, the music selection, and levels themselves make this game seem directly from that era. For anyone that grew up with these games or just fond of the style of the original Genesis games, this one does an amazing job at recreating that feel. The demo consists of both Great Turquoise Zone acts and Act 1 of Sunset Park and Meta Junglear zones. Great Turquoise feels like an evolution of Angel Island Zone from Sonic 3, meanwhile Sunset Park seems like a grittier version of Oreo Ocean from Sonic 2. Meta Junglear feels like a weird mix of Angel Island and Casino Night Zone? Yeah, my mind is kind of weird, but it's due to those bouncy things. Anyway, all 3 zones are really well made and stylistically very interesting to look at. The gameplay itself feels great as well, as they did a really good job at recreating the feel of the old classic Sonic games. I really like the feature of being able to switch between Sonic and Tails though. If you get bored with a character, you've got a slightly different moveset to work with then. I actually really wish Sonic Mania Plus gave you this option, but hey, we can't have everything in life. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with this one, and I can't wait to see what becomes of it in the future. I love to see more characters as potential unlockables, and to mention new levels is pretty exciting. Probably the game I was most excited to play here, Sonic RidersX serves as a reimagining of Sonic Riders and Zero Gravity. Headed by Sir Gigas and Beats YT3, it aims to recreate the feel of the original Riders completely while adding new unique ideas into the mix, such as level not originally in the first 2 Riders. For instance, it pulls Dream Racing from the Olympics title over and makes it just so much better. Sonic Riders remains one of my favorite games of all time and also my favorite racing experience to date. I mean, there is a reason it is 71.428571428% of my name. Sonic Riders was really the first game I think if it was available at the time, I would have really tried to jump into a competitive scene for. I just remember playing the game for days on end and constantly crushing my cousins and brother on the same tracks every day. It's not the easiest game to get into, but once you get a good handle for it, it's just an experience that feels so unique from what's out there, yet extremely fun and competent. So when I saw footage of this floating around, I was pretty hyped at what this game could do for the Riders community going forward. Playing the game itself, the developers have done a very solid job recreating the mechanics of the original Riders. With tracks directly ported from the original game and remade to fit the art style, it honestly feels pretty similar to the original. There are some slight differences any regular Riders player would notice here. The game doesn't really pack the punch that I feel the original Riders does, but it comes pretty darn close to it and that can always be tweaked in the future. But the game still runs remarkably well and I can just dream of what you could do with this game. For instance, why not bring all the tracks from Free Riders over here? For the first time, we can play those tracks in a manner that's like tolerable. And it's pretty hype considering that original tracks are not outside the equation either. There's a fun little playground area here that's pretty fun to mess around with. I really hope this game continues to be worked on. If Sega isn't willing to bring back Riders in the way it deserves, I'm so happy to see these guys excel at the job.
Sweet.
Sonic Chaos is a fan game reimagining of the 1993 Sega Game Gear and Master System platform game of the same name, with project leads A+ star and Mr. Poe heading the project. Based on the current style of 2D classic Sonic games inspired by Sonic Mania, Sonic Chaos updates the 8-bit visuals of the original and adapts a playstyle more closely resembling the classic 16-bit games. Sonic Chaos uses this brand new engine, Crimson Engine, which strives for classic Sonic gameplay accuracy. It is completely made from the ground up by this team, and it's pretty impressive. Starting up this game, I immediately thought of Sonic Mania 2, as everything from the art style, the menus, and the soundtrack really just evokes that. As for the game itself, the most recent demo consists of Turquoise Hill Zone, and wow, this is just amazing. The level looks absolutely gorgeous and the music backing it up was perfect, but the best part is how the game feels, as it is an amazing replication of the feel of classic Sonic games. Seriously, I felt like I stumbled upon an expansion pack of the original Sonic Mania. They did a really solid job. As for the level itself, it was definitely a ton of fun to run through. I will say though, the second act felt a little weird, as I found myself constantly going left and right to figure out the path to the goal. It's a little different, but I think something a little more straightforward would have been more appropriate for the first zone at least. I don't know how faithful this is to the original, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming the levels in Chaos were not this massive, so I'm assuming some of this layout is original. I would go back and check, but the last time I played Chaos was when I was like 6 and I absolutely despised it, so yeah. So I think just aiming for a more balanced level would be good for the future. Honestly though, it's a tiny nitpick because the level itself is still tons of fun and I had a blast running through the zone. It's been a while since we last had an update for this one, so I really hope we hear more from this game in the future. Sonic 2 HD is a complete overhaul of the original, headed by Vincenzo Mastrorizzato and Ryan Hathaway. Sonic 2 HD is a reinterpretation in high definition graphics, music, and gameplay of Sonic 2. Their goal was to produce a similar shading style to the Japanese original concept artwork and set it in motion with hand-drawn animations. The most recent demo consists of Emerald Hill, Chemical Plant, and Hilltop zones, all topped by charming presentation. I mean, just look at this game. It literally looks like a cartoon come to life. I absolutely adored the art style of this project. I didn't make the connection of it matching the box art style until literally just now, but it honestly adds a huge charm to the game. It's just sweet to look at. The fact that this is hand-drawn is not surprising to me at all, but that must be a process that takes ages to finalize, so to see it as refined as this is just a treat. I sort of wish Sonic Mania or at least a future 2D Sonic title would take on this art style, as it seriously has so much potential in elevating whatever game that would be, but the 3 zones in this demo are certainly just pure eye candy. I just wanted to mention the winning animations of Sonic and Tails are just the cutest. Like seriously, where has this game been in my life? And the music is just as amazing. Act 1 is a solid recreation of the original track, but then Act 2 proceeds to remix the track quite a bit, and I just love that contrast. As for the gameplay itself, it does a very good job recreating the feel of Sonic 2. The game does whatever it is you expect it to do. Sonic 2 is the classic game I've played the most in my life. I had it on my mobile phone in college, and I remember just constantly jumping into it between classes and during study breaks, so I'm pretty familiar with how the game feels, and this demo does a solid job recreating it. I would say I do think the game's a little slower than Sonic 2, so if Sonic's speed could just be upped a little bit, I think they'll literally have it perfect. Otherwise, Sonic 2 HD is an amazing experience. I don't think the game has seen an update for quite some time, so I really hope the people behind it are still tackling it brick by brick. It can't be an easy project to work on, but the result is just too good, so hopefully we see something soon.
mean, what can I really say about this one? Project 06 is one of the most ambitious remake projects I've seen. Headed by Chaos X, it aims to take the entirety of Sonic 06 and not only port it over to the PC, but also make numerous fixes and additions to make it as great of a game as it could have been. The most recent version contains all the levels from Sonic and Shadow stories, with all the characters in those stories fully playable. I don't even know where to start with this. Just know that this is one of the greatest fan projects I've ever played and that you definitely need to check it out if you have any ounce of interest in Sonic 06. All the characters are massively overhauled to control better than they did in the original, and they honestly all feel great to play with. With Sonic, for instance, his speed is up quite a bit and his spin dash works more like it did in the original adventure, but by far my favorite addition for him is how the bounce attack is more momentum based, as you're able to move in various directions while using it, which can result in some awesome chains of moves. Tails is a complete badass now. Not only is he faster and his flight is more powerful, but he has a spin attack from the original adventure, and his ring bombs don't suck anymore. Knuckles' melee attacks are quicker, and the heat attack from the original adventure is brought over here as well. He also doesn't get stuck on walls anymore, which is nice. As for Shadow's side, Shadow's power-up features are overhauled, and now when you reach the maximum level, he's able to do the Chaos Blast from his own game, which is so satisfying to pull off. He's also got a spin dash now, which is much appreciated. His vehicles all control a lot better this time around and actually now serve as fun changes of pace in his gameplay rather than a shorter playthrough. Rouge has melee attacks from Adventure 2 and now just feels a lot better to control. And Omega, wow, he probably had the most dramatic upgrade. He has a third person mode now to attack enemies, and he has a lock-on system from the mech shooting levels in the adventure games. He is an absolute blast. Silver is actually playable as well since he has a section in both Shadow and Sonic's levels. He not only moves way faster, but he also has this new shooting mechanic you can use to stun enemies much more easily. I can't wait to play through his levels in the future. And speaking of the levels, they've all been ported over faithfully, but now without some very interesting changes. First off, Shadow's levels take the same levels but put them at different times of the day. So we have Wave Ocean during the sunset, for instance, and even Tropical Jungle where the weather changes every 30 seconds. It's so cool. Also, a really cool thing he did with Rouge is that her sections have been transformed into treasure hunting levels, fully equipped with a radar system and randomized key locations. It is the coolest thing I think I've ever seen in a fan game. Beyond that, there are a lot of quality of life changes made here that are subtle but definitely contribute to an improved 06 experience. Plus, all the levels have a slightly altered lighting style from the original that just makes the colors bloom a lot more, and it's just pure eye candy to look at. I could go on and on about this project. It's just such an amazing feat, and I'm shocked that fan not only put this together, but is progressing through it as quickly as they are. Chaos X has shown off a lot of progress on Silver's campaign already. I cannot wait to see how he improves his levels, and also how Blaze and Amy will play. This is one to keep an eye on that never blinks.
Bring it on! I'll take them all down! Perfect.
Well, I think we can all agree that Sega should just fire everyone at the company and hire all these people. In all seriousness, it's absolutely insane what some fans are able to do with what's allegedly their free time outside the busy 9-to-5 jobs and personal lives. It's a beautiful thing if you think about it, as these people are so inspired by this franchise that alone is the driving factor for these projects. I think any publisher should be open to fan involvement in their games, as not only is it nice to have some fresh blood in the ranks, but these are people that have a genuine love for the franchise. Otherwise, there's 10,000 other things they could be doing with their time. Sega's a pretty cool company when it comes to this, as not only do they look the other way of these projects, but they've even historically brought fans on board to work on official Sonic media. My personal wish is to see Chaos X's Project 06 get greenlit as an official remaster and put on all modern hardware, but we can only dream. Well folks, remakes are a great thing. In fact, sometimes remakes are so great that they outpace the original and become the definitive experience to play. So much so that sometimes gets to the point where the original just disappears into the shadows and you're not really sure if you're playing the original or the remake anymore, and the world gets engulfed in glossier versions of the old, while the old is doomed to collect everlasting dust, to be forgotten like a 6-year-old's diary in the attic. Are you a remake? Thank you so much for watching this video. Special shout out to my patrons, New Gamer Hub, Team Rattle Sign Gamer, Johnny Hinton Ortiz, Trash Q, Claw84. These are my patrons / YouTube members. If you'd like to become a patron or YouTube member and get access to a whole bunch of different perks, then please check out the links in the description box below. But alright, this is Riders, riding out.